Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here, Wednesday the 27th of May. So it's been probably over a week now since I posted the last video when we were doing a few bits and pieces on the Fury SS, and in the meantime I'm currently working on a documentary, as some of you know, linking these three examples of 350 double overhead cameras together, and a bit of a history of the design and development of the Fury and Bandit. And also I'm still awaiting for tank sealer to seal the lightning tank, so we can prevent any more issues with the paint lifting at the back here, and that's late. So I thought what we'd do in the meantime is actually do a start on the Bandit, following the recent videos where we've done a light recommissioning on it, following us pinching the auto advance unit so we could arrange for some pattern units to be made up. But that's now been done, and as you know from the previous vids then, that the Bandit is now ready to go, and we've timed it up. So all we've got to do is to top up the oils. I did drain it when recommissioning because it had sumped all its oil as usual. It has got an anti-drain valve in it, and I've checked that over several times. I can only imagine that the spring must be a bit too light, but it does sump its oil. So we've drained what was in the primary case, which is actually fed from the main crankcase. There is a hole through to it to keep a level of about half a pint or so in the primary case. So we've drained that. We've drained the main chain case. I've drained most of the oil out of the gearbox, but I wasn't sure what capacity was in it, and I'm not sure whether the dipstick on this has got the correct markings on it, because I think these dipsticks were common with other models but have different markings depending on the capacities, which are all different. But the good news is that we do have a copy, as you may be aware, of the owner's handbook, and there aren't many of these, but it's a very useful book, and it does have the capacities in here. So we're looking at 5, we're British obviously, so 5 pints for the main tank, a pint for gearbox oil, and then just put a nominal quarter of a pint in the primary chain case. It's interesting, you'll note that they've split out the data for the Roadster Fury versus the SS, and I've gone over this many times and they're exactly the same. So quite why they did that, I'm not sure. The only one difference I've found for some reason is there. Sorry about the glare. There we go. Suppressor is within the HT cable on the Roadster, but there isn't any on the SS. But other than that, all the data is exactly the same. Anyway, what we'll do then is crack on, and first what I'm going to do is just make sure I've drained all of the oil out of the gearbox, because I don't think that had quite finished draining when I replugged it. And the reason why I was suspicious about the fact that I may have overfilled it is it was weeping a bit of oil, and I think that was coming through the final drive sprocket seal, and that usually occurs when the gearbox has been overfilled. So let's drain that off first, and then we'll refill it with the correct amount of 1 pint. So the drain plug for the gearbox lives at the lowest point, which is underneath the kickstart pinion. So that's it here. So I have loosened it off, so apologies for my hand being in the way. But let's just take that out and see if we get any more out. Yeah, so there's a bit coming out. And when I took the first amount out before I replugged it, I noticed there's a bit of grime in there. I'm pretty sure it's not metal. No, it's not. It's just I think grime off the gears, as that oil's been in the bike since we first got it running again in 2013 probably, which sounds a long while ago, but I can assure you, as it's not on the road, it's not done very many miles at all. Right, we'll just let that drain and drip off a little more, and then we'll put a pint in through the filler stroke dipstick at the top here. Right, gearbox is still dripping away a little, so while we wait for that, we may as well get some oil into the main tank. Did you see it? And again, this is the dipstick that came with it, so we'll put 5 pints in there and see where it comes on the dipstick. But I do notice on the dipstick, you can see it's labelled up on the right there with a low, and then there's an intermediate mark there which is labelled 4, and the top mark, sorry it's not focusing too well, but the top mark is labelled 5 high, so that actually makes sense. So anyway, let's get 5 pints in there and we'll see where we are. Right, I put 4 pints in, and it's only just coming up to the low mark on that dipstick, so I'm going to leave it there. So we'll just assume that this isn't necessarily the correct dipstick for this tank, but that's okay. At least we know. And I'll put a bit of oil into the primary chain case, and probably slightly overfill that because it will drain into the sump, so I'll have a little bit in there. Right, so let's do that next. Right, that's oil in the primary case through its usual fillet. Obviously checking first that I've tightened up the drain plug. Now I'm just going to tighten that up with what I know a lot of people hate, but it is blunt, and it's a blunt chisel, which I'd use specifically for this job because it's far better than a screwdriver. Okay, that's that. That's that done. Right, next we'll put the drain plug back in the gearbox, and we'll fill the gearbox up with a pint, and then just out of interest we'll see where it comes to on that dipstick. Right, here's the gear all going in at the minute. I must say, a pint does look like an awful lot to me, because I'm pretty sure that, for instance, in the Lightning gearbox over there, is it only 3/4 of a pint? Might be. Maybe I'm thinking about the chain case. Anyway, that's what the book says. Okay. Sorry, I'm probably sending you dizzy there. Right, so just resting on the top, and it's already well onto the dipstick, nearly to the full level. So by the time we screw it in on those threads, it will be. Hopefully you can just see the level line. It's about a, I don't know, 1/3 of an inch, something like that, above the actual oil level at the minute, so we should be alright. I'll come back and put this in because this plug is always a little stiff, which I don't mind actually, because that means then it isn't going to vibrate loose. So I do have to come back and give it a bit of a grip, but it does go in okay. Right, that's that done. So what I'll do next is give it a few kick primes to get the oil round it. I'm not going to bother getting the rollers out for this, because this engine's already wet. But the next job that we'll do is put some petrol in the tank and just check that the oil lines aren't leaking. From what I remember, we do have a bit of a problem with the taps. These taps leaking a little, but not too bad. As long as the remaining oil lines are okay, then we should be good enough to attempt to run. Right, I've got a quart of petrol in it, and just making sure we've got no leaks around either tap. I wouldn't have thought it'd be around both taps yet anyway, probably just the tap on the right hand side. We're all dry there at the moment. So we'll put another quart in, gently. Got rags at the ready just in case some does splash, because you know what this stuff's like now with paint. Gone are the days when you could just splash a load of it into the funnel and let it drain. And just wipe it off afterwards. Oops. There's a little bit of splashing going on there. we're okay. We're okay. Right, get rid of this one out of the way with the others. Looks okay. That tap is marked R. That tap looks alright too. Tank is pretty flat at the back. There's no tunnel in it. So I'll open the reserve tap now, and then we need to check leaks from the pipes. But also, actually, what I'll do first, just have a bit of wood or something handy, just in case we need to tap the carbs. Right, here we go. Okay, there's fuel going down there without a doubt. Now, one thing you'll notice is that the twin carbs are really snugly fitted between the frame tubes, and one of the complaints was going to be that you can't get to the ticklers, but you can actually. In fact, there we go. That's tickling okay, and when I stop tickling, it's sealing. So that's good. Same on the other side with the other hand. Yep. I can hear that tickling too. But there we are. Right. Put that down. And make sure there's no leaks. Still looks good. No dripping from the carbs. Right, I'll set you up then, and then we'll try a start. Right, the carbs are tickled, got the choke on, keys in. We'll just do a couple of priming kicks. You'll notice on this the kick starts on the left, and in fact it does get you practicing using your left foot, which feels a bit unusual at first, but it's okay. Right, ignition on. Just turned it back on, waiting for the oil pressure. Wow. Well, the light was definitely on when we before we started it, and it went out long after we started it, immediately after. Oh, and there it is. Bloody hell. That was minutes. Wow. Well, there we are. Right, fuel off. No fuel leaks obvious. No oil leaks obvious. So really pleased with that. Obviously, seems to be running okay. It missed a couple of times while it was warming up, but there are long inlet tracks on this. And people always comment about the fact from the first video. I think some people commented it sounded like a single. One or two people thought it was dubbed, but it's a 180-degree crank, so it is a bup, and it definitely running on 2 cylinders there without a doubt, and running quite well. Ticking over wasn't too bad, wandering a bit, but you'll notice that I had to tighten up the throttle twist grip, as that was a bit slack on the bars, but that's okay now. So obviously a ride beckons, a test ride. So what we'll do is we'll see what we can rig up registration wise, and we'll take it for a small test ride, and I'll set that up as a separate video, and we'll take the GoPro chest harness with us, and we'll go out for a ride on it. So for the time being, we'll leave that there for now. So more progress. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Thanks for any interest, subscriptions and comments. They're all very much appreciated, and we'll see you again soon, if not to ride the Bandit, then hopefully to seal the tank and get another ride out into the country on the Lightning following the first ride out. Right, that's it for now. Thanks very much, everybody. See you again soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.